2023 is officially over, so it's time to look back on some of the best movies of the year. Hello everybody, my name is Jesse and welcome back to another video on my channel. Today I'm going to give you my top 10 favorite movies of 2023. Before we get into my actual top 10, I do have some honorable mentions. Those honorable mentions are The Flash, The Killer, Renfield, Evil Dead Rise, Leave the World Behind, and No Hard Feelings. I loved all of those movies, and No Hard Feelings was actually number 10 on this list until another one bumped it out, which I'll get into in a couple of minutes. I liked all those movies, but none of them made the cut, unfortunately. Kicking off our top 10 is Maestro. Bradley Cooper proved once again that he's not only a fantastic actor, but he's also a great director. I didn't like this movie quite as much as A Star is Born, but I do really like this movie, and I probably need to rewatch it pretty soon. I saw it in theaters at the beginning of December, I think. And he does great. I think Bradley Cooper does a great job in the role. It's kind of an emotional, it's a pretty emotional story at times with him and his wife and the relationship between the two. And there's a lot of great, obviously, it's the story of Leonard Bernstein, who was a conductor. There is a few really good conducting scenes in this movie. In fact, there's one particular, I don't remember the name of the chapel that they're at, but it's about 3/4 of the way through the movie, and he's at this chapel conducting, and you can just see Bradley Cooper putting his all into this role in this character. He's got a huge smile on his face, and it's amazing. It's one of my favorite scenes from a movie in 2023 in general, which I know is crazy to say, but it's true. It's a fantastic scene, and this movie as a whole was awesome. Number 9, I have Poor Things. This was Yorgos Lanthimos' new movie with Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe and Mark Ruffalo. And I went into this movie cautiously optimistic. I've only seen one other movie from this director, The Lobster, and I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but that movie just didn't really work for me. I thought it was a little too weird, and it almost felt off. I don't know, that I didn't really like that movie. So when I heard that this movie was from Yorgos Lanthimos, that already I was like, okay, I'll see it. It looks really interesting, but I'm going in cautious because I could love it, I could hate it, and I walked out pleasantly surprised. This is a fantastic movie. Emma Stone gives a hilarious performance, and she along with everyone else. Willem Dafoe is amazing in it as well. I wish we got to see more of him. And Mark Ruffalo was really good. He was probably my least favorite character in the movie, but he was really good, and he had some good moments. And I think overall the best part of this movie was the visuals. I think it looked really beautiful, especially when they're on the ship. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but the visuals in this movie are really fun, and there's also, I love the cinematography and the look and feel of the cinematography. They used kind of like a fisheye lens a lot to give it kind of that, I don't know how to describe it, but almost curved look. It looks really cool and unique, and I really liked it. So this was a pleasant surprise. I liked this movie, and it's yeah, it made it into my top 10. Number 8, I have the movie that kicked No Hard Feelings out of my top 10. That is Godzilla -1. I just saw this movie a couple of days ago, and my God, was I impressed. This is by far, like, easily the best Godzilla movie ever made in my eyes. It's fantastically made, and what works so well about it, I think, and really what everybody has been saying in the month since it came out, is the characters are actually interesting and you care for them, and the movie takes its time to build these characters and introduce you to them so that when Godzilla eventually does attack, you genuinely fear for them and are rooting for them to win. And while like talking about Godzilla, the look of Godzilla in this movie is awesome. I mean, he looks like a terrifying monster that you'd want to run away from, and it doesn't look like a crappy CGI mess. It looks, the attention to detail is great. He looked like you can see all the scales and spikes and horns on him, and his like atomic breath scenes. He has a few scenes where he attacks and uses his atomic breath to blow things up. It looks really awesome, and this movie just impressed me, and I can't wait to watch it again. Number 7, I have Barbie. This wasn't one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and it delivered. Margot Robbie is great in the role. I can't imagine anyone else playing Barbie as well. Like, when you think of Barbie, Margot Robbie really does come to mind. I mean, that is the actress that I would at least think of first for that role. Give Ryan Gosling the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, because he was absolutely hilarious in this movie and he stole the show. If you want to know exactly how much I loved Ryan Gosling in this movie, I dressed up as Ken for Halloween, hence my blonde hair in my last video. Anyway, I loved this movie. Every actor and actress does fantastic. Michael Cera was amazing as Alan. This movie is hilarious, like I mentioned, and it's just really fun to see Barbie go on this journey through the real world and learning kind of how things actually work. And it's a really enjoyable movie. It's one of my most viewed movies of 2023. I saw it 5 or 6 times, watching it with a whole bunch of other people that hadn't seen it yet. And I don't know, it was just a really enjoyable movie that is easy to rewatch, and it makes me laugh every single time. Number 6, I have Gran Turismo. This was another really big surprise for me this year. I went into it expecting to dig it because I dug all the trailers, and I'm a big fan of feel-good sports movies. So I knew I was going to like it, but I did not expect to like it nearly as much as I did. It tells a really interesting story. I love the cinematography and the visuals of the main character kind of visualizing the game and racing and all of the parts of the car in his head. You see like the visuals kind of show the car kind of pull apart, so you can see all the individual moving parts. And I just think it's really interesting how they did that. David Harbour is awesome in this movie. He was by far my favorite part of it. His motivational talks in this movie are all great, and he's a fantastic character. And yeah, this is a sports movie that I can see myself rewatching quite a bit in the future. I really did enjoy it a lot. Number 5, sorry. I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Again, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I love James Gunn. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. And so I knew it had to be something amazing with it being the last Guardians movie. And it's probably my favorite Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Rocket's backstory is some of the most emotional stuff we've seen in the MCU thus far, and it really fleshes him out as a character. And there were a few moments that brought me to tears in this movie. I'm not gonna lie. James Gunn. This is James Gunn at his best. We've been with these characters for 9 years now, and we've just fallen in love with them more and more, and this movie gives them a beautiful send-off without ruining it. It's awesome. Of course, I have to mention the soundtrack. James Gunn is a master at creating amazing soundtracks for his movie, and this one has the best soundtrack of all three Guardians movies, and maybe my favorite soundtrack in the entire MCU. Dog Days Are Over, Creep, Crazy on You, In the Meantime, on and on. I've listened to the soundtrack endlessly throughout the entire year since May when it came out. I've listened to the soundtrack multiple times. So I loved this movie. Number 4 for me is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I love the Mission Impossible franchise. It's one of my favorite movie franchises of all time, and I think they just keep getting better with each movie. This one, I think I need to rewatch Fallout and this one again. I'm actually watching through all of the Mission Impossible movies again right now, and once I get through them all, I'll officially decide. But it's between Fallout and this one for being my favorite. When I first walked out of this one was my favorite. I think it's got some of the best stunts of the franchise, especially with the motorcycle jump near the end of the movie and the entire train sequence with him and with Tom Cruise and Haley Atwell and the bad guys of the movie. And this movie is just everything you want in a Mission Impossible movie. It's got big stakes, it's got fantastic stunts, and it's got great action sequences. So another one that I need to rewatch soon, but I absolutely loved it. Number 3 for me is John Wick Chapter 4. Seems to be a common theme with a lot of these movies, but this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I love the John Wick franchise, and this movie turned out to be my favorite of all 4. It's the longest, but it's also the one that has the best stakes, the best action, and the best villain. They actually give you a villain that you are rooting against in this movie. Bill Skarsgård does fantastic in the role, and he's really like the other 3 John Wick movies. Yeah, there's sort of villains with like the High Table chasing after John and all the other assassins trying to get the bounty on his head, but you don't really care about the villains. There's no real villain, no real clear villain in any of the other 3. This one has a villain that you know is going against John Wick, and you're rooting for him to lose. You're rooting against him. You're rooting for John Wick, and obviously he ends up winning in the end. But I think, this movie has the best action of the franchise and may just be one of my new favorite action movies of all time. I love the cinematography. They have a scene where it's like an overhead tracking shot for like a solid 2 minutes, and it's awesome. It's honestly insane how they were able to pull off some of the things in this movie. And another one that I need to rewatch very soon. My runner-up for the year is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Of course, right? I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. This was my most anticipated movie for the year. I loved Spider-Man. I loved Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and so this movie looked like it was going to be one of my favorites, if not my favorite of the year. And here it is in the number 2 spot. Right now, it's a battle between Into and Across the Spider-Verse for being my favorite. I need to rewatch Into the Spider-Verse again. But I loved this movie. I love the animation. I loved the story. I think the only thing that this movie has kind of gone down for me a little bit since my very first viewing, mainly because I think the first act of the movie, when you're just seeing Miles's life in Brooklyn in the first act, I think the first act just kind of drags a little bit on rewatch, and you're just kind of waiting for that second act when he gets to Nueva York, Spider-Man 2099's universe. You're just waiting for that because you want to see all the cameos and all the different animation styles put together. So I think that's the main thing that brings it down for me a little bit, is the first act can kind of drag a little bit. But everything about this movie, the animation, the story, the characters, it all worked for me. I love it. There are new characters in this movie, especially Spider-Punk and Spider-Man India, that I absolutely loved. Spider-Gwen was put more on the front this movie, and I loved her character as well. And I obviously, like I've mentioned, the animation is just incredible. It's probably one of, if not the most visually stunning movies I've ever seen, especially in theaters. Every individual frame in this movie looks like something that I would want to print out and put on a wall, because all of the colors, all the different animation styles, it just works, and they blend so well together. So it's amazing that they were able to pull that off. But my favorite movie of 2023, and one of my new favorite movies of all time, if I'm being honest, is Oppenheimer. This was destined to be one of my favorite movies of the year. Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of all time, and this movie is almost my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. It's very, very close. I think it's top 3, or may even be the runner-up. I think with time it has the potential to become my favorite of his films. I love the switching back and forth between the color and black and white. They did that amazingly. Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh, Matt Damon, they all are all awesome, give fantastic performances. Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. should be at least nominated, if not win the Oscars. I think Christopher Nolan should get the Oscar for Best Director. The visual effects in this movie are awesome. The Trinity test sequence is one of my favorite scenes from a movie this year. And the look and the story, it's been a long time since a movie with this much dialogue and very little action has been able to keep me this entranced. I can't remember. I don't know the exact word for it. I can't remember the exact word for it. But I was glued to the screen the entire time. I've seen this movie 5 times now, which is insane because it's a 3-hour movie. That's freaking 15 hours of my life spent this year alone watching this movie. I've read the actual screenplay. I've watched all the bonus features that came with the Blu-ray. It's a phenomenal movie, and I will not get tired of it anytime soon. There you have it. Those are my top 10 favorite movies of 2023. What were your favorites from 2023? Let me know. I have a bunch of other videos planned, so be on the lookout for those. In the meantime, check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.